Good morning, Senator. Welcome back. Number one question. Were you surprised by the leader's announcement, and have you picked anyone among Dr. John Thunen, who are all three running to replace Mitch?
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be back on with you. I can't say that I was surprised that Senator McConnell decided not to seek a final term as leader before he retires from the Senate in 2026. I didn't know the exact timing of it, but I thought that might have been trending that direction after he set the record last year for what has been a remarkable run and saving the Supreme Court from Merrick Garland and Barack Obama and helping build a center-right constitutional majority or protecting the rights of every American to engage in free speech, especially free speech in the political arena. It truly has been a remarkable run. I believe that as of today, we have at least two people declared that they're running for the Republican leader position, John Cornyn and John Thune. I suspect we'll have at least one, maybe more, jump in as well. These are all good Republicans, and I look forward to them making their case to us and the incoming Republican senators. I think the main thing should be a focus on President Trump's reelection and the election of all of our great candidates and a handful of incumbents we have up.
Now, the electorate for leader is between 49 and 54 votes, depending on how well Republicans do in the Senate races this year. I've seen you mentioned as a dark horse. Are you running for leader?
The darkest of horses, Hugh. I want to serve in whatever role can best help my Republican senator colleagues and President Trump achieve our shared goals. Right now, I've had several colleagues encourage me to run for conference chair, which is the number 3 position, dedicated to ensuring that we are advocating for conservative ideas and promoting the conservative message across the country. That's currently going to be open because John Barrasso is term limited from it. So that's where my focus is. I'm grateful by the support I've received from my colleagues. But as I said, the most important elections right now for the next 8 months will be that election for the White House and the election for all of our Republican senators and candidates, because we want to make sure that we are electing a Republican majority leader, not minority leader, come November, who can help a new Republican president turn the country around.
Well, that's a bit of news. Tom Cotton running for Senate conference leader. Now, what does the Senate conference leader do? Do you run the annual retreat?
So, yes, and it will be determined whether or not you're invited and how you treat me over the next year.
I was wondering about that. Now we're going to start having to move around and be deferential.
So John Barrasso has held the job for 6 years, 6-year term limit. Senator Barrasso has done an outstanding job. He's helped modernize the facilities and the infrastructure so our Republican senators can reach their voters, not just, say, through traditional television and local broadcast news, though we have great studios and facilities for that, but through podcasting or other digital outreach, helping ensure that Republican senators are communicating effectively with their voters where they are, and then also going out to carry the Republican Senate's message to the American people. Again, John Barrasso has done a great job on that, but he's term limited out of it, so it's been open, we've known it's going to be open even before Senator McConnell announced he would not be seeking the leader position. And some of my colleagues first started approaching me months ago, and I'm grateful about that, and I'm pleased with the level of support we've gotten. For the time being, though, I think everyone needs to focus primarily on all these Senate elections and the race for the White House to ensure that we're electing a majority leader, not a minority leader.
One more question on Senate politics before we turn to Super Tuesday. There is a generational divide, not so much ideological, but generational, between people like you and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and J.D. Vance, who are under 50, and those of our wonderful Republican caucus who are over 50. If you were the chairman of the caucus, how would you work to it's a different language, it's a different technology, it's a different approach, it's a different ideology. How do you bridge that?
Sure. We do have certain generational divides in our conference, just like we have certain ideological divides. As conference chair, one priority is to make sure each senator has the tools and the resources they need to communicate with their voters in their states, because one thing is true is that most senators are pretty good representatives of their states. I like to think that I'm a good voice and advocate for the people of Arkansas. I might not be so well fitted for, say, the people of Maryland, as I hope Larry Hogan will be elected and be a great Republican senator for the state of Maryland. So it's helping bridge the divides, find those issues and approaches that unite us in Washington, while also helping every senator make sure that they are reaching their voters where they are in their home states.
Now, we know about Pennsylvania. Dave McCormick's been on a lot. There are three great candidates running in Ohio. I'm staying out of that until they elect their nominee. We can win with Sam Cooke in Nevada. We can win with Kerry Lake in Arizona. There are other pickups out there in Montana with Tim Sheehy and perhaps a few places I haven't mentioned. Are you going to be living on the road, Senator?
Yeah, I'm going to be out campaigning a lot in the summer and the fall this year. I think in West Virginia, we're all hopeful that race is basically on.
That's a done deal.
Manchin's retired and Jim Justice in. That, assuming we elect, the 8 incumbents we have up for re-election, people like Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, Deb Fisher, Roger Wicker, that puts us at 50 going into the more competitive races. As you mentioned, there's 2 states where Donald Trump won twice. Tim Sheehy will be our nominee in Montana, and we'll have a nominee in Ohio in a couple more weeks. I'm confident those are 2 great pickup opportunities. And then there's a whole bunch of states that Donald Trump either won closely or narrowly lost in 2016 and 2020, where, again, we have great candidates that I think are good fits for their state, like Sam Brown in Nevada, Kerry Lake in Arizona, Eric Hovde in Wisconsin, Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania. We even have some blue states where Donald Trump did perform quite so well, but we have a very popular leader, former Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland as well. So I think there's going to be ample opportunity to be on the campaign trail with strong candidates delivering a compelling message this fall. And hopefully, like you said, that it's not going to be a vote of 49 or 50 Republican senators in November. That'll be a vote of 54 or 55 or 56.
I think I just called Sam Brown Sam Cooke, and I'm sure he plays the guitar well, but it's nevertheless Sam Brown. And I also want to point out, Larry Hogan represents the Big Tent Party, which still exists. He's a favorite of mine, except for his Ravens fandom, which we'll have to forgive to get behind him. But that's a lot of work cut out for you. Let's talk about tonight. I expect a sweep. What do you hope to see Ambassador Haley do if, in fact, it's a sweep tonight?
Well, I think the time has come, especially if Donald Trump sweeps the states today on Super Tuesday, for Ambassador Haley to announce that she is suspending her campaign supporting Donald Trump. He won't quite get to the formal number of delegates he needs to have the nomination in hand today, but it's a foregone conclusion. Obviously, this race has been trending in this direction since President Trump won landslide victories in Iowa and then in New Hampshire. I regret a little bit that we haven't been able to already unify and consolidate the party, that President Trump and the RNC haven't been able to start working together hand in glove the way Joe Biden and the DNC has done for 3 years. I wish we hadn't missed out on these last 2 or 3 weeks, but we really need to start tomorrow as one unified party, taking advantage of the momentum that President Trump and our Republican Senate and House candidates have, speaking with a single voice about the direction that we want to take this country, to secure our border, to stop this migrant invasion, to get inflation under control, to help people with the quality of life that they've struggled so much under Joe Biden, restore respect in America.
Well, I have a bit of advice, Senator. I want you to encourage your Republican colleagues to applaud long and hard whenever it's possible, because the president doesn't want that State of the Union to go long. I don't think he's got the energy to make it a 30-minute speech, but he's going to try and peddle a lie about the border negotiation being the fault of Republicans. That's not true. Jim Langford did the best job he could, but the wall wasn't there. And I think Gallup has showed us that the immigration disaster has become the #1 issue in the United States, even ahead of the economy, which bothers a lot of Americans. Do you think that's going to change between now and November?
No, I don't think it'll change, Hugh, because Joe Biden doesn't want the situation at the border to change. He promised in the campaign that he would invite the entire world to come illegally to our country, and that's exactly what he did on day 1 of his presidency. He and his party are ideologically invested in open borders. Now, you're right that whether you supported that bill or opposed that bill, Joe Biden has it in his authority to stop or substantially slow the flow of illegal migrants. He just refuses to do so. So what you're going to see on Thursday night is a lot of blame shifting, a lot of avoidance of responsibility. I suspect you'll see President Biden make it through the speech just fine, and when he steps over that very low bar, the media is doing clear that Joe Biden is back and he's got his mojo back and so on and so forth. Just remember, Hugh, if Joe Biden were 20 years younger and very sprightly, he would still be a failed president. His old age and his failing condition is just a small part of the problem. The bigger part of the problem is that he's a liberal ideologue. That's why we have an open border, why we have runaway inflation, and why America is a laughingstock around the world.
I spent 30 minutes talking to Aviv Rediger, who's become sort of the Charles Krauthammer of Israel. I like talking to Michael Oren and him about the fact that Kamala Harris' speech had to be toned down. It was still anti-Israel. Joe Biden has been sort of schizophrenic on Israel, and I don't believe what the message that we're sending. The Gaza humanitarian crisis is the result of Hamas refusing to surrender. They want that crisis. Do you think Biden and Harris believe that?
I don't know if they believe it or not, Hugh. I do know that all of the energy and enthusiasm in the Democratic Party is opposed to Israel and in many cases outright anti-Semitic. And you see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris demagoguing to that far left anti-Israel, anti-Semitic wing of their party. And you see them excusing, just a few months on from the worst massacre of Jews since World War II, what Hamas is doing. Not just what it did to Jews in Israel, but what it continues to do to the hostages that it's holding, not just Israeli hostages, but American hostages as well, and to civilians in Gaza. And the Biden administration is bending over backwards to try to act, in effect, as the lawyer for Hamas at negotiations with Israel, instead of backing Israel to the hilt so it can achieve its objective, which is a righteous objective of totally and utterly destroying Hamas's war-making capability and governing authority.
Last question. You mentioned the law. You're a lawyer. Allegedly, you went to Harvard Law School. I'm not sure they actually taught con law there. But this 9-0 decision yesterday was easy to see, but it still caused the left to melt down. Presidential immunity from criminal prosecution, much more difficult case. I don't have a prediction on that. But could you believe the way the media reacted to what was, in essence, a done deal yesterday?
Well, Hugh, yesterday's decision reminds me of the old joke. Why did all these liberal states trying to exclude Donald Trump from the ballot lose 9-0? It's because there aren't 11 justices of the Supreme Court.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Senator Cotton, thank you for joining me. I appreciate breaking a little news here. Campaigning for Republican conference chairman. That's interesting, and we will get reaction to that going forward. Thank you, Senator.